all you can see is what's in your field of view. And you're going down paths that you think are the right paths to go down. And then you end up hitting dead ends. I was in that maze for a long time. And after 2 decades, I finally got that bird's eye view over the hedge maze. And now I can see clearly what to focus on first and in the order of importance to not run into those dead ends, but to get that efficient progress. We make business so difficult sometimes for ourselves, and it's understandable because we're in the hedge maze. We can only know what we know, right?
Welcome to the Societygal Podcast, where trailblazing female entrepreneurs and creatives come together to spark change and build their dreams. This is where your passion meets purpose, and together, we're crafting a future where everyone has the tools to succeed. Welcome, everybody, to the Societygal Podcast. We are so excited to have Monica on with us today to talk all about magnetic messaging and all the inner workings of that. And there's so many juicy topics we're going to dig into so you can really take away some amazing information from her. She's amazing. So before I say amazing too many times, let me just have you talk about your story and how you got to this place today of helping others with this.
Yeah. Okay. So first off, thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm so excited. I've been aware of Societygal for so long, and just super cool to be here. So anyway, I'm Monica Valentine Reynolds. I'm the founder of Vox Pop Marketing, and I'm a brand and marketing strategist who helps coaches, consultants, and online service providers stand out and make the competition irrelevant. And I came to this place after 2 decades of just putting in the work, really. I started off my career on a different track. I was a newspaper reporter, and I was writing feature stories on artists and basically entrepreneurs. And that's when I learned that I really loved to help champion people in doing the work that they felt called to do. Because let's face it, as entrepreneurs, yes, we want freedom, we want flexibility, but generally the majority of us have a drive within us to do something we're passionate about or to make a difference. And so I absolutely love working with those heart-centered, passionate, mission-driven service providers. And I learned that by being that reporter. And luckily, I was already nerding out on online marketing. I started doing that in 2005. And by the time I was several years into my journalism career, I realized it's time to break away. It's time to do this thing and go my own path and do this entrepreneurship thing for myself. So lots of trial and error. Fast forward many years. I've been in business for 13 years now, providing services for that market. And yeah, it's been a ride.
And I don't know why I just made the connection of your voice and news reporting, but you definitely have that very clear, awesome flow of words and voice. I think that's just such a talent, but that definitely has carried on since you've been doing that.
Thank you.
It's really helpful for all of your business and lives and all that, your presence online, which is awesome. And that's such an awesome skill. So let's dig in. First, what do we really need to do first to maximize our profits and minimize our effort, and how, again, the messaging plays into that. So let's talk about that first.
For sure. This is such a juicy topic right off the bat. You guys are in for it. It's about to be good. Okay, so I find that a lot of solopreneurs, micro business owners with a very small team are in a hedge maze, okay? If you can think about one of those actual mazes in a garden where you can't see above the hedges and you're just trying to find your way out, that's solopreneurs and micro business owners, a lot of us, okay? And here's why. All you can see is what's in your field of view, and you're going down paths that you think are the right paths to go down, and then you end up hitting dead ends. And you keep going down new paths thinking, this is the way now. This is the way I'm going to find the pot of gold that I'm looking for. And you keep hitting those dead ends, right? I was in that maze for a long time. And after 2 decades, or darn near after 2 decades, I finally got that bird's eye view over the hedge maze. And now I can see clearly what the most efficient path is, what to focus on first, and in the order of importance to not run into those dead ends, but to get that efficient progress. We make business so difficult sometimes for ourselves, and it's understandable because we're in the hedge maze. We can only know what we know, right? But business is actually a very simple process. It's very linear. And yes, there's challenges along the way, but it's still the same process, no matter who you are. If you're a solopreneur online delivering services, I'm going to tell you right now what you need to focus on, okay? In order of importance. Get ready to take notes. This is important. It starts with knowing your audience, which everyone says probably, but it's true because without knowing your audience, you don't know what they need and you don't know how to talk about it. So you start with your audience, and when you get clear on what they want, you develop an offer, a very specific offer for that very specific audience. That's going to help you to get clear on how to talk about what you do so that your message is effective. And after you start delivering those services, you'll know more and more what you need to talk about because people will tell you what they think is amazing about your service and why they hired you. And then once you've got that message, now you're ready to do your website, okay? Not until you have these things in place. See, a lot of people rush to do the website. They rush to do social media, but because they're in the hedge maze and they miss that, oh, these are the first few paths I need to go down in order to make the social media work, in order to make the lead funnel that I spent all this time and money on actually pay off.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you talk about just like you said, everyone talks about you need to know your audience, but in such a deeper way that it's relevant to them. Like I like how you said, very specific. You need to be very specific to who they are and a very specific offer. But why that is because then it's relevant to them as a person. And you're not just spewing this general information. It's the general information of, oh, let's say I'm a photographer. Oh yeah, that's an engaged couple. And they want a wedding photographer. No, there are so many different types of engaged couples. And the more you go into your engaged couple that you love to work with, it makes it so relevant to whatever, any content you put out. So I think like relevance is huge when you talk about like specific and niche. Yeah.
And it's especially important if you're trying to make your online marketing work. You can be in the hedge maze and do traditional marketing and have it work. Traditional marketing is going and networking, going to the Chamber of Commerce and meeting people and being like, hey, I do business to business. You can totally make a business work that way. Granted, there are many pitfalls with that too. I've been there. I've experienced those as well. But if you want your online marketing to work, it all starts with the foundation I just laid out for you.
Yeah. And I love how you explained the visual of the hedge maze. I think everybody on the podcast is nodding their head when they hear that of what to focus on first. I understand this too of when you first start your business, you're like, my website, and you spend just hours and that build up to weeks and months on this website that honestly does not matter. Because you have no idea who your client is. And
yes.
And that's an exact example that so many of us are working on. Or Instagram, for example, of just like continually being on Instagram or whatever socials you're on, and you're just feel like you're trudging along and hating every second of it because you're not attracting the right clients, you're not getting results. Like all those things come to the core of what you're talking about of the maximize profits and minimize effort.
Yes.
It's like, what do you focus on first? And I love that, how simple that is.
It is very simple. Like I said, we do overcomplicate it, but once you know the steps to take, if you're brave enough to go down those paths, it will lead you to a consistent, profitable business that is overall sustainable.
Yeah. And I feel like what I learned too is the more consistently you're focusing on your client and serving them than yourself is where the shift is. I think so often we're focusing on ourselves and how we look and what we're doing. And it's when you're shifting towards who is my client? How can I serve them? Sometimes I get stuck in that same like cycle of what am I doing? I have 20 things to do. What do I need to do? And it's where can I serve my clients the best with my content, with my service, and focus on my client. What do my client needs right now? What does my client need right now? And that's when everything shifts and like the focus and the simpleness is just, what does my client need right now?
Yes.
All it is.
It is that simple. Yes. And also that helps us to be better service providers. We do better work when we are thinking in that frame of mind. And that's what leads to a pipeline of referrals. It's a referral engine starts to be built when we're consistently delivering excellent service and getting outcomes for people. And we can only do that when we clearly know what they need and we talk to them about their experience with us and over time refine the offer. Offer is so key to everything.
Yeah. And why do you think the offer is so key to everything?
So first off, you need to be able to deliver a service that people want. And so it starts with being clear on what you're doing for people. Because a lot of people sort of make it up as they go. They're like, oh, you need a thing? Let me do that for you. And so now it's not clear what the overall value proposition is for your market. So now your marketing is super watered down. It's very general and people don't understand why they should hire you. And then also, when we're really clear about how we deliver our service, we know what transformations we're creating for people or what outcomes we're getting. We're taking them from a specific place in their life that they're wanting to get out of or get away from, and we're taking them to another place in life that they're envisioning that they really want, that's going to make them want to hand their money over. And when you're really clear on how each step that you take in your service does that for them, you can really create messaging that gets people's attention.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what I've been taught, or just a lot in marketing across everything, is like know who they are and like where they live and behaviors and all the like psychographic kind of things. And it's like, well, you also need to know them inside their journey with you as a service provider. Like, what is their journey with you? I think that all plays into the messaging. It's deeper than that. It's not just who are they as a person? It's who are they with you too, right? And your offer.
Yes. How do you and your service fit into their world? Like, you need to know what's going on in their heads, right? That's the psychographics part. But then, and what they need, that's part of that too. And then like, how do they think about their challenge? How do they think about their solution? How do they talk about it? And then your job is to understand all of these things so that when you talk about your offer, it just makes sense to them. It just fits into their existing world.
Yeah. And you'll see that. Like, I personally seen that in like reviews. Like literally things right off my website copy or email copy is in their review from their experience that I provide. So all this full circle of you create it and they feel it and they know it. And, that's literally the result is what you're promising. And I think we so often get into this, I need sales. And it's so much, someone has said this in another podcast, it's so much harder to get a client than to retain, to have one or from a referral or retain one. Getting new clients is really hard, but you can build, like you said, that referral base, that network of people, of clients that have really great results. And I like also how you said excellence. I think that's a really great word and thing to become, is being excellent in what you do and not just putting yourself out there just because, just
to pull in the money.
Just mediocre, just to pull people in.
Yeah.
So there's like
that's not sustainable.
Different energy.
Yeah. And that's not sustainable because you'll become known as that person who does an okay job or not a good job. And that is the fastest way to not have a business.
To burn out.
Yeah. And just for people to start talking and know like, oh, don't go to her because she doesn't do very good.
And the whole thing with like low, and then your offer, we're going to talk about this in a minute. Your prices are lower, your experience is lower. You're just going to keep receiving those clients that are at the lower par, what you actually want for a sustainable business. How can we like really continually refine our messaging? Because we talked a lot about creating the messaging, but I think refining is something that a lot of us forget as our business grows. So like, why is that so important? And like, how can we continually do that as we grow as business owners?
Okay. First off, we haven't really talked about messaging in terms of the process that I take people through, which is a very specific process. It all starts with having conversations. Even the offers, of course, starts with having conversations. But you need to understand your market, not just your target audience, but also your competitors, because you need to understand what makes you different in the market so that when you go online to talk about what you do, you know exactly what to say to set yourself apart so that you don't sound like everyone else. You're not repeating the same things that everyone else talks about. So that's the first step. And I help people to do that in a service I call Magnetic Message. We get really clear on their brand position, which is what I was just talking about. Where do you fit in the market? What makes you different? What makes you stand out? And then the second piece of that is your thought leadership. How do you approach your work differently? What's your mindset? What's your process? And so as you're delivering services, you're going to learn more and more how to refine how you talk about these things, because you're going to hear from people their perspectives about you. Hopefully you have a system to collect feedback. So that's pretty key, because unless you're asking for it, you don't necessarily get feedback every time you work with someone. But if you have a process in place, you can increase the amount of conversations you have with people about their experience. And over time, I highly recommend that you keep a spreadsheet with people's responses so that you can get that bird's eye view of, oh, this is what everyone thinks. This is what everyone's saying. There's a common thread here. Let's pull this into the message. So over time, you can continually refine the message in that way.
Awesome. You talked about your process a little bit of what you take people through. So can you give us an example of a client that who's maybe been doing way too much or focusing on the wrong thing, and then how you help them focus and what you guys did together to focus and to bring in more profit? Hey, this is Dana from Societygal, and I wanted to take a quick break to tell you about the Societygal Academy, the exclusive membership that helps entrepreneurs like you launch, grow, and scale your business. Join weekly expert-led workshops, access to on-demand courses, and connect with a supportive network of go-getters just like you. Are you ready to elevate your business? Visit Societygal Academy today.
Yeah, absolutely. So one particular person comes to mind because we did a whole transformation for her business from start to finish. We really got in there and made changes. When she came to me, she had been in business for a year at that point, I believe, and she had built a thriving audience who was very engaged with her content. She was really active on Instagram. She was pretty much posting every day, as far as I can tell. She did a lot of content. She did a lot of work. But even though she had this big following and lots of engagement, she hadn't made any money at that point. And so when she came to me, she was like, why is this not working? I need to figure out how to make this work. So in our work together, we realized that she wasn't focused on the right audience. And here we go. That's the very beginning stage for marketing that actually pays, right? And so we came to this because I get to know my clients on a deep level. I ask a lot of questions. I ask follow-up questions. We really drill into what their experience is, what their current circumstance is. And so this helped me to understand because I started to know a lot about her true expertise, the true value that she brings to her clients. And she was really focused on the wrong thing and she was delivering the wrong services. So here we had to refine, okay, this is the new audience. This is the appropriate audience for the outcomes that you provide. And then let's get to know them. We did market research. From there, we developed an offer that was specific to that audience. And then we updated her message and her website. From there, she went on to start doing different focused content marketing. And she was able to get her first couple of clients for high ticket services. We're talking thousands, okay, high ticket services. Mm-hmm. She has become known as the go-to person in her field. She's a retail sales coach, but she had fashioned herself as an online sales coach initially. Her true expertise is retail. And she has a very unique method for increasing the client base in a retail store. And we drilled down on that too, to further set her apart in the market. Because it's not enough to just say, oh, I'm not just a sales coach, I'm a retail coach. That's one layer of differentiation, but we took it a couple or even a few layers deeper to really set her apart. So now she's known as that go-to person for that specific audience type who wants that process in their company. Yeah, and things are looking really good for her. She's been invited to speak across the country multiple times. She's been flown to different places. She's had a lot of really amazing opportunities since we worked together, and it's been really exciting to see the growth of her business.
That's so cool. I love to hear real life examples because what really stood out to me with that story is how it all went back to that one the foundational piece.
Yes.
Was where you had to go backtrack to. And that's why this is so important right now. And where the core problems are is going back to the audience. Okay, your offer is wrong because your audience is wrong. You know, all these different things. Like, wow, like to see that and like how that big of a shift. She was doing the work. She was bringing in the people, bringing in the audience, but just that one shift, just that she's speaking directly to her people. Yeah, I love that. And how specific she was getting in to what she did with her method and like being able to be in that. I love that example. So let's go into, I love how you said layers. So I think there's a lot of us listening that maybe have some of the core work done and maybe do have things are working, just like your client example and everything. But what are some layers we need to take the next steps to focus on to refine it, to make it better, just as you took your client through? So take us through that.
Yeah. One of them I already mentioned, which is to continue talking to your market, because their perspectives will change over time because markets change over time. And that's because society is constantly changing, culture, pop culture, everything that happens in our world shifts us a little bit. So the market will always shift. It's good to keep a pulse on that, for one. The second thing that I think you may be pointing at is like, how do we go layers deeper in our brand and message so that we do stand out and make the competition irrelevant, as I like to say?
Yeah.
Which is very true, because you can absolutely do that. And that's what I help people do in Magnetic Message. In Magnetic Message, we look at you as the service provider. What are your true strengths? Like my client I just talked about, we found her true strengths. It was retail. It wasn't just general online sales, right? Beyond that, how does her unique point of view, what she's passionate about, the goals that she has for her clients and the outcomes that she wants to provide play into all this? Whatever her unique experience has been, what is it about her approach that might set her apart? There's lots of levels of nuance that can go into setting someone apart. And it's not just the visuals. Like when we think about a brand, we think about colors, logos, fonts. And that's part of it, but it's not everything. What we really want to get at is at the heart of who this person is. What's at their essence? What's at their core that makes them uniquely suited to deliver this outcome? And that's really the core of it. Also, I would like to say, I always talk about it like the Venn diagram. If you think about the two circles and they intertwine, and there's a piece like in the middle. So on one side of the diagram is your audience, and on the other side is you. And in the middle is your uniquely you magnetic brand or message, okay? It's the conversion of who your audience is, what they want and need, and who you are, and the unique skill set and attributes you bring to the table. And right in the center of that's your uniquely you distinctive brand.
Yeah.
So,
what would you say to someone who feels like they're not unique?
Oh gosh, I've been there. Yeah, I can say I struggled with that myself. I know a lot of my clients do as well. I think it's so interesting. So I've always been fascinated about how we personally express, how we self-express, and how we can express ourselves authentically as much as possible. What does it look like to self-express fully? That's always been an interest and a passion of mine, which makes me uniquely suited to help people with their brands. I'm very curious about my clients. And one of the things that I do is I ask a lot of questions about who they are. And in that process, I learn what makes them different in the market. And I'm able to show them that in a document that I call the brand map, which is part of the magnetic message service. There's two documents I give my clients. One of them is the brand map. And this is where I show them, it's almost like holding up a mirror to them and showing them, this is you. This is actually you. These are the amazing, unique qualities that you're bringing to the table. And it's amazing. And I'm getting a little bit choked up about it because every time it seems like my clients also get choked up about it because they start to see themselves from another point of view and they get to see how awesome they actually are. And that's amazing because that gives people the empowerment and the self-assuredness to go out and market themselves in a bigger way because they know they truly are bringing something special to the table and they know how to talk about it. And that makes a huge difference. For some people who are holding back a little bit with their marketing, it makes a huge difference.
Well, I think many people hold back because of fear of how to express ourselves or the fear of being so general or everyone else is doing it. And I love how you said it. Each individual, we literally are so different in our strengths and our experiences and all those things you said that kind of support us in that uniqueness and that how great it is to have a coach or a mentor to point that out to you. I think that's a huge thing that everybody should have is someone that can put up a mirror to you and help you find those things. I think is essential to everyone's path, but also being able to serve from that place. I think it's a beautiful thing too. Being able to serve from the place of your uniqueness or what you know will help your client because you know that your clients are being supported and helped and served 10 times more than if you're just doing general stuff, right?
Yeah. And you're leaning in when you lead with your brand as yourself, as you're bringing your essence to the table, it's intertwined into your brand and people are attracted to that because there will be people who are very much attracted to your brand because of who you are, not just your services. And When you are leading with a brand like that, you're leaning into your strengths, and delivering service becomes so much easier. Because in the past, you might have been conforming to fit a mold that you think people might want, and you may be swimming against the current to fit yourself into that mold. It might be hard to deliver service in the way that you think you're supposed to. But when you lean into your real strengths, it becomes so much easier and so much more enjoyable.
Yes. From experience, I know for me too, like there's really a big relief, or I guess freeing feeling without going through something and always comparing yourself to somebody else or trying to fit in a mold, and almost like empowering. It's empowering. And you feel like, oh, I got this. I am so good at what I do. And so when you have the energy of, I know I serve so well, it shows up in all of your content, like all that energy, like you could feel someone's energy in their content. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if everyone can, but I know I can.
I can. I think most people can feel if you're desperate for bookings, or if you're like, I'm ready to serve you. There's a really big difference with that energy.
That's
and
true.
Literally just the shifts in their tone and the sentences you say, it could be the same message, but with that different energy and that different backing of that knowledge, I think makes a really big difference in how we show up.
Agreed.
And I really love how you said in our prep call, I loved how you said, it's not just about the right words you say on copy, but what's unique about yourself and how you serve and how that resonates with your audience is what matters. Not like, this is the right word, ChatGPT, tell me what the right word is. It's going to click with that person, right? But it's way deeper than that. It all goes back to that.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to bring that up too, but I just didn't quite get there. So I'm glad that you did.
So I would love to hear about where you struggled. Like, where were you on the struggle bus with brand messaging, and what were things you did for yourself to get to the place you are now where you're so confident in your messaging?
Oh gosh. So yeah, I rode that struggle bus for many years. I did a lot of things right, but I also did so many things wrong. And I was consistently hitting a ceiling in my business where I just couldn't break through what I was able to accomplish. I just kept hitting the wall in the maze, if you will. I was very general in my messaging. I did not have a specific service offer, and I was doing work for people. They'd come to me and they'd say, I need a thing. I'd say, cool, let's do it. And so I didn't have a way to really have a pulse on what people were needing, because I wasn't really asking the big picture questions. I didn't have that bird's eye view of the hedge maze to know what questions to ask or where to go. So I had very general blase blah messaging, and I had a beautiful website because I am a web designer too, on top of all this, but that wasn't helping me. And if you have a beautiful website and it's not helping you, no worries. Okay. You can turn it around. It starts with the audience, the offer, etc. But yeah, it took me many years to go there, to have that niche audience, to dial in the offers, because one, I was confused about how in the world to create an offer in the first place, like that would actually sell and not leave money on the table. But also I was afraid of alienating potential customers and again, leaving money on the table. After all, I was a single woman. I was living in Austin, Texas. I was supporting myself with my business. So I had to figure out a way to make it work. I was very hesitant. In hindsight, yeah, I can see why I was in the maze. I definitely took a ton of courses and tried to learn everything I could. I was looking to reverse engineer what I was trying to do. Eventually, I was able to hire some really high ticket coaching, and that helped me to get more of that bird's eye view. But it still took me time to integrate it fully into my awareness. How you're like, oh, I learned a thing, versus I learned a thing. Like it is integrated. Like it took a while to integrate all of this. If I would give a recommendation to myself, like my old self, I think I would tell myself to get a part-time job and to save my money if I had to, and use whatever money I could to hire the right person to lead me out of the hedge maze. And when I say the right person, I don't mean the first person who has really good marketing. Interview a lot of people, ask a lot of questions, be sure that this person really has your best interests at heart and understands the game. Like they have that 10,000 foot view. They need to understand the game, or else they're just selling you snake oil. There's a lot of people out there who are still in the hedge maze and talking like they have that 10,000 foot view. They do not, and they cannot help you get out of the maze because they're still in it themselves. You got to do your due diligence.
I love that little last learning lesson there. We really, I love how you said interviewing people. That's just one thing I took from that. But just taking your time with finding the right mentor is huge. Taking your time with that. I think the first thing, we're like, oh, I need results. I need results if I hire this mentor. And one, you have to be ready for that mentor to be mentored, but also finding the right one that's going to get you those results, I think is such a great piece of advice as well. But I love how you shared your story and how you got through it, and that it does take time. It does take time. There are mentors that help you speed up the process, but like you said, really understanding it in a deeper way of that learning takes time with more clients and more time with your business. And it's a long road. It's a long road, but it's an enjoyable one as you refine it and refine it as you go forward, which is awesome. But where can we find you? Where can everyone connect with you? This is so amazing to have you on here. Where can everyone find you and connect with your program and any other resources you have?
Yeah, I would just say the easiest way to connect with me would be to go to my website at voxpopmarketing.com. That's VOXPOP marketing.com. And if you go to my footer, you can find all my socials. I'm pretty darn active. My primary place is Facebook. Secondary would be Instagram. And you can find me on LinkedIn as well. I do have a YouTube channel that I post to sporadically, and I drop a lot of knowledge bombs on that channel. I also have a Facebook group, which you can find through my Facebook profile link in the footer of my website. Got lots of juicy free resources over at my website. Go check out the blog. I have a lot. I really like to give a lot of knowledge and help people because I was in that maze, and I'm like, I just want to help people get out of the maze. Even if that means they're not. I don't care if they're working with me as much as I just want to make an impact and leave a lasting legacy. I want to leave a legacy because to me, the more people who are in business, who have that mission, who have that drive to help other people, who have empowerment to do, the more people that are empowered in this way, the better off everyone's going to be. Because an empowered entrepreneur with a mission is going to make an impact on the person that they serve. And that's going to have a ripple effect on their families, on their friends, on their community. And the more people you can serve through your business, the more of an impact you can make.
Yes.
So that matters.
You're awesome. I can listen to you speak all day. So you speak so well and just have such great messages to share with everybody. So thank you so much for being on, Monica.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.